still remember the exact moment my life fell apart. I was standing outside a hospital emergency room in a blood-stained wedding dress, my makeup ruined by tears and rain, when my phone buzzed for the 47th time. The message was only 6 words. Don't bother coming, he's married Emily. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. 3 hours earlier, I had been a bride rushing toward the happiest day of my life. Instead, I became the woman everyone blamed for a wedding she never abandoned by choice. If someone had told me that saving a little girl's life would cost me my fiancé, my family, and everything I had ever dreamed of, I would have laughed. But sometimes, doing the right thing comes with the highest price. And sometimes karma takes its time. My name is Claire, and this is how the people who called me selfish ended up begging for my forgiveness. Growing up, I was never the favorite. That title belonged to my younger sister, Emily. Emily could do no wrong. If she broke something, I had distracted her. If she failed an exam, the teacher was unfair. If she forgot mother's birthday, she was simply busy. But if I got a 98 instead of 100, Dad would sigh. You could have tried harder. When Emily quit piano after 2 weeks, Mom smiled. She's finding herself. When I worked 2 part-time jobs while attending nursing school, Dad laughed. You've always been the responsible one. You'll manage. That sentence became the soundtrack of my life. You'll manage. Need money? Claire will manage. Need someone to babysit? Claire will manage. Need someone to cancel vacation plans? Claire will manage. Emily, meanwhile, floated through life like every door automatically opened for her. She spent money she didn't earn. She borrowed without returning. She cried whenever anyone challenged her. And my parents rushed to protect her every single time. Still, I believed hard work would eventually pay off. I graduated near the top of my nursing class. I landed a job at one of the city's best children's hospitals. I worked double shifts. I saved every dollar. Then I met Daniel. He was charming, confident, and funny. Unlike my family, he admired how hard I worked. I love that you care so much, he used to tell me. I wouldn't change a thing. For the first time in my life, I felt chosen. When he proposed beside the lake where we'd had our first date, I cried harder than I ever had. Finally, someone was putting me first. Or so I believed. Looking back now, there were warning signs. Whenever Emily flirted with him, he'd laugh instead of shutting it down. Whenever Mom compared us, he'd stay silent. Whenever my parents demanded another favor, he'd tell me, just keep the peace. I confused avoiding conflict with kindness. That mistake nearly destroyed me. The morning of our wedding was perfect. The sun was shining. The flowers had arrived. Guests were already gathering at the venue. I was only 20 minutes away when traffic suddenly stopped. People were getting out of their cars. Someone screamed. A school bus had collided with a truck. Smoke filled the road. Without thinking, I pulled over. My nursing instincts took over before my bridal instincts even had a chance. Children were crying. Parents were panicking. One little girl was trapped beneath twisted metal. Her leg was badly injured. She wasn't breathing properly. There weren't enough emergency responders yet. One firefighter looked at me. Are you medical? I'm a pediatric nurse. Please help. I didn't hesitate. For nearly 3 hours, I stayed with that child. I controlled the bleeding. I kept her conscious. I talked to her. You have to stay with me. She squeezed my hand. It hurts. I know. My mommy. She's coming. Every minute mattered. Walking away meant risking her life. By the time the rescue team finally freed her and loaded her into an ambulance, my wedding dress was covered in blood. One doctor looked at me. If you hadn't stayed, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I already knew. I grabbed my phone. 47 missed calls. 23 text messages. None of them asked if I was okay. The first message from mom read, "How dare you embarrass this family?" Say next from dad, "Everyone is waiting. Get here now." Daniel's final message simply said, "If you don't arrive in 10 minutes, we're done." I drove as fast as I could. I kept telling myself they'd understand. Surely someone would understand. I was wrong. When I reached the venue, the parking lot was almost empty. Music was still playing inside. I rushed through the doors. People turned. Then they started whispering. I looked toward the altar. Daniel was standing there. Beside him, Emily? She was wearing one of the bridesmaids' dresses. A white shawl had been draped over her shoulders. A minister smiled. "I now pronounce you husband and wife." The room erupted in applause. My legs nearly gave out. Emily saw me first. Instead of looking guilty, she smiled. "Oh, you made it." Daniel didn't even flinch. "You chose someone else over me?" I stared at him. "I was saving a child's life." "You chose your job." "No. I chose to save a little girl." He crossed his arms. "And I chose someone who actually showed up." My mother walked toward me. "Claire, stop making a scene." "A scene? You abandoned your own wedding." I called. "No excuse." Dad shook his head. "You've always put strangers before family." I looked around the room. No one asked what had happened. No one noticed the blood on my dress. No one cared. Emily slipped her arm around Daniel. "I never wanted this," she said dramatically. But someone had to save the day. Guests nodded sympathetically. Someone whispered, "Poor groom." Poor groom. Not poor child. Not poor bride. Poor groom. I walked out without another word. That night, every local social media page exploded. Videos showed me entering the venue late. People mocked me. "The runaway bride came back." What did she expect? Daniel deserves better. My own parents shared photos from the wedding. DT Pug instead of paid to Tepag. Emily posted a picture kissing my fiancé. Love always finds its way. Thousands liked it. No one knew the truth. Then something unexpected happened. 3 days later, the hospital released a statement thanking the unidentified nurse who had saved a 6-year-old girl's life before emergency crews arrived. The story went viral. News stations wanted interviews. The rescued girl's parents searched desperately for the mystery nurse. I refused every request. I didn't save her for attention. Meanwhile, Daniel and Emily were enjoying their honeymoon. Until one reporter connected the timeline. The anonymous nurse had been wearing a wedding dress. Everything changed overnight. News outlets uncovered wedding photos. Then hospital records confirmed my identity. Suddenly, the internet had questions. Why would someone punish a bride for saving a child? The comments flipped. They married without even checking if she was alive. Her family is disgusting. I hope she's okay. The biggest surprise came a week later. The little girl's parents invited me to dinner. They hugged me before I even sat down. Her mother cried, "You gave us our daughter?" Her father placed a folder in front of me. Inside was an offer. He owned one of the largest private healthcare organizations in the state. "We're opening a pediatric trauma center. We want you to lead our emergency nursing program." The salary was almost triple what I earned. Housing included, leadership position, scholarship funding for advanced education. I couldn't speak. Life had slammed one door shut. Then quietly opened a better one. Just when I thought things couldn't get stranger, another truth came out. Daniel hadn't married Emily because he loved her. He had married her because my parents lied. They told him I had intentionally abandoned the wedding. Then they promised something else. Emily had inherited what everyone believed was Grandma's investment account. It was supposedly worth millions. Only Grandma had changed her, 6 months earlier. She never trusted how my parents spoiled Emily. Without telling anyone, she left nearly everything. To me. Not because I was her favorite. Because as her handwritten letter explained, Claire is the only one who understands that love is something you give, not something you demand. My parents didn't know. Neither did Emily. Neither did Daniel. The lawyer announced everything during the official reading. Emily exploded. There has to be another version. There isn't. Dad looked at me. You'll share it with your sister. No. Mom gasped. We're family. I smiled for what felt like the first genuine time in years. You've spent my entire life telling me family comes first. Exactly. So where was my family? Silence. You replaced me before I even reached the church. Nobody answered. Daniel suddenly stepped forward. Claire. No. Actually made a mistake. No. I believed them. You believed what was convenient. He lowered his eyes. I still love you. Emily looked horrified. You what? The room erupted into shouting. For the first time in my life, none of it involved me. Weeks later came the biggest public moment of all. The hospital held a charity gala honoring emergency responders. They asked me to accept an award. Television cameras filled the ballroom. Halfway through the ceremony, the rescued little girl ran onto the stage. She hugged my legs. You saved me. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Then the host surprised me. We've invited someone who wishes to apologize. I turned. My parents slowly walked onto the stage. Dad's hands shook. Mom couldn't stop crying. Before hundreds of guests and thousands watching online, Dad said, we failed our daughter. Mom added, we cared more about appearances than character. Then Daniel approached with Emily standing several feet behind him. He looked exhausted. I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me. Emily folded her arms. This is embarrassing. The audience didn't clap. No one cheered. People simply watched the consequences unfold. I thanked them for apologizing. Then I said something I'd practiced for days. I forgive you. Everyone smiled. Until I finished. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. I looked at my parents. You don't get access to my new life. I looked at Daniel. You don't get another chance. Finally, I looked at Emily. You spent years taking things that belonged to me. She rolled her eyes. You think you're better now? No. I finally know my worth. The applause lasted nearly a full minute. Over the following year, everything shifted. Daniel's marriage to Emily collapsed almost immediately. Without the inheritance they expected, their constant arguments became impossible to hide. Emily blamed him. He blamed her. Eventually, they divorced. My parents tried for months to rebuild our relationship. Sometimes they sent long messages. Sometimes expensive gifts. Sometimes emotional letters about family. I wish them well. But I kept healthy boundaries. Some bridges aren't burned by one match. They're destroyed by years of neglect. As for me, I accepted the leadership position. I completed advanced trauma training. The pediatric center opened ahead of schedule. Every hallway reminded me why I chose this profession. Not because it was easy, because it mattered. On opening day, the little girl whose life I had saved cut the ceremonial ribbon beside me. Her mother whispered, "If you hadn't stopped that day," I smiled. "I couldn't have done anything different." Because that's the funny thing about life. The people who accused me of ruining my wedding believed I had lost everything. But losing people who only loved me when I was useful wasn't a tragedy. It was freedom. The groom who couldn't wait 3 hours wasn't my soulmate. The family who replaced me in a single afternoon was never truly on my side. The greatest revenge wasn't becoming rich. It wasn't watching their marriage fail. It wasn't seeing the internet expose every lie. The greatest revenge was building a life so full of purpose that their opinions no longer had the power to hurt me. I didn't become the woman they expected. I became the woman they never deserved. And every time I walk through those hospital doors, every time I hear a child laugh after surviving the impossible, I'm reminded that the best decisions aren't always the easiest ones. Sometimes doing the right thing costs you everything you thought you wanted, only to give you everything you actually needed.